Before we dive in, a quick but important note. The information in this video is for educational and informational purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor or a career counselor, and this presentation isn't a guarantee of income or job placement. Your career success depends entirely on your own effort, skills, and the job market. Always do your own research. Alright, let's get real for a second. You're staring at your screen, maybe it's your work computer, maybe it's your phone, and you're scrolling. You're scrolling through LinkedIn, through Indeed, through Dice, and you're seeing the same thing over and over. Job titles that sound interesting, salaries that would be life-changing, but then you hit the requirements section, and it's a wall of acronyms. A laundry list of technologies you've maybe heard of, maybe tinkered with, but don't have deep, provable experience in. And you feel that familiar sinking feeling, the feeling of being stuck. You're smart, you're capable, you're a hard worker. You've put in the time at your current job, but that next step, that senior level position, that jump from $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year to well over six figures, it feels like it's on the other side of an invisible wall. What if I told you there's a key that unlocks a door in that wall? A specific skill set that is so in demand, so critical to modern business, that companies are practically fighting over the few people who have truly mastered it. This isn't about getting another generic certificate in cloud computing or networking. This is about specializing. It's about becoming a master of one of the most fundamental pillars of modern technology, identity. And the gold standard, the undisputed heavyweight champion in the world of identity management, is Okta. And getting their professional certification, that's not just a line on your resume. It's a career booster. It's a signal to every recruiter, every hiring manager, every automated resume scanner that you are not just another IT professional. You are an expert in the technology that keeps the digital world secure and running. In this video, we are going to break down precisely why the Okta Professional Certification is one of the single best moves you can make for your tech career right now. We're not talking about vague theories. We're talking about the concrete reasons this specific credential can add tens of thousands of dollars to your salary, open up roles you previously thought were out of reach, and make you recession-proof in an increasingly volatile job market. So what is this identity thing anyway? It sounds so abstract. Let's cut through the jargon. Every single time you log into an application, your email, your banking app, Salesforce, at work, Slack, anything, something has to verify that you are who you say you are. That's identity management. Now imagine you're a company with 10,000 employees. Each employee needs access to dozens of different applications to do their job. How do you manage that? How do you make sure the new marketing intern doesn't accidentally get access to the secret financial reports? How do you instantly shut off all access when an employee leaves the company? Doing this manually is a nightmare. It's inefficient, it's expensive, and it is a massive security risk. One wrong click and you've got a data breach on your hands. This is the problem Okta solves. Think of Okta as the digital bouncer and master key maker for the entire corporate world. It sits in the middle of everything, connecting every employee to every application they need, securely and seamlessly. It is the central nervous system for a company's security and productivity. When you log in once through Okta, you get access to everything you're supposed to and nothing you're not. It's called single sign-on, and it's just the tip of the iceberg. Okta manages the entire lifecycle of a user's identity, from the moment they're hired to the moment they leave. And in an age of remote work, cloud applications, and constant cyber threats, this isn't a nice-to-have technology. It is absolutely essential. It's the plumbing of the modern internet-driven enterprise. And here's the secret. Most people, even in IT, don't understand how this plumbing really works. This creates a massive opportunity, a skills gap. Companies like Netflix, T-Mobile, FedEx, and thousands of others are built on Okta. They need people who can implement it, manage it, and secure it. But there aren't enough of them. The demand for qualified Okta professionals vastly outstrips the supply. And in any market, when demand is high and supply is low, what happens to the price? It skyrockets. That price is your salary. We're talking about roles like Identity and Access Management Engineer, Cloud Security Engineer, and Okta Administrator, with salaries routinely starting in the low six figures and climbing rapidly with experience. But here's the catch. How do you prove you have these skills? You can say on your resume, I have experience with Okta. Okay, great. So do 1,000 other applicants. What does that even mean? Did you reset a password once? Or did you architect a full-scale identity solution for a global company? This is where the certification comes in. The Okta Certified Professional Exam is not a walk in the park. It's a rigorous hands-on test that proves you can actually do the work. It validates your skills in a standardized, globally recognized way. When a recruiter sees Okta Certified Professional on your resume, it's an instant differentiator. It cuts through the noise, tells them 3 critical things. First, you are serious about your career. You didn't just passively learn this stuff. You invested the time and effort to master it and get certified. Second, you have a verified baseline of knowledge. The company doesn't have to guess about your capabilities. Okta has already vouched for you. Third, you speak the language. You understand the core concepts of modern identity security, like OAuth, SAML, and lifecycle management. You're not someone they have to train from scratch. You can hit the ground running and start adding value on day one. Think about it from the hiring manager's perspective. They have a stack of 200 resumes on their desk. Their automated system, the Applicant Tracking System or ATS, is programmed to search for keywords. Okta is one of them, but Okta Certified is a power-up. It pushes your resume to the top of the pile. And when that manager has to decide who to call for an interview, the certified candidate is always going to have an edge over the non-certified one, all other things being equal. It de-risks the hiring decision for them. It's a cheat code for getting past the gatekeepers and into the interview room, where you can then truly shine. This isn't just about getting a new job either. It's about thriving in the one you have. Imagine being the go-to person on your team for all things identity. When there's a complex access issue, they come to you. When the company is planning to roll out a new application, your input is required. You become indispensable. That's how you get promoted. That's how you lead projects. That's how you build a reputation as an expert, not just a generalist. The confidence that comes from knowing your stuff, from having that certified expertise, is a game changer in and of itself. So the path forward is becoming clear. You're in a field that's crowded. To stand out, you need to specialize. Identity and access management is one of the hottest, most lucrative specializations in tech. Okta is the leader in that space. And the Okta Professional Certification is the key that proves your expertise and unlocks the door to those high-paying, high-impact roles. Over the course of this series, we're going to give you the complete blueprint. We're going to dive deep into the specific exams, the professional, the administrator, the consultant, and help you decide which path is right for you. We'll look at the hard numbers, breaking down realistic salary expectations based on your location and experience level, so you know exactly what the return on your investment will be. We'll cover the most effective study strategies, the best resources, many of them free, and the common pitfalls to avoid. We'll even walk through sample questions and lab scenarios, so you know exactly what to expect on exam day. We are leaving no stone unturned. By the end of this, you won't just be convinced that getting Okta certified is a good idea. You will have a clear, actionable plan to make it a reality and take your career to a level you previously only dreamed of. Your journey to becoming a highly paid identity expert starts right now. So let's start with a simple, undeniable truth about the world we live in. The way we work has been completely revolutionized. Think about it. 10-15 years ago, your company's most sensitive data, its applications, its entire digital kingdom, was locked away inside a fortress. You had office buildings with keycard access, a server room humming in the basement, and a firewall that acted like a giant stone wall with a single heavily guarded gate. This was the castle and moat model of security. To get to the goods, you had to be physically inside the castle. Simple, right? Well, that castle has been blown to pieces. It's been shattered by a force more powerful than any army: the cloud. Today, your company's office isn't a building. It's a constellation of services scattered across the globe. Your CRM is Salesforce somewhere in the cloud. Your email and documents are in Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace, also in the cloud. Your code repositories are on GitHub, your project management is in Jira, your HR system is Workday, and your critical infrastructure is running on Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure. The inside of the company is now everywhere, and the outside is, well, it's also everywhere. Your employees aren't just at their desks anymore. They're working from home offices, from coffee shops, from airport lounges on their laptops, their tablets, their phones. This isn't a trend. It's the new reality. And it creates a terrifyingly complex problem for every single business on the planet. If there's no castle wall, no single gate to guard, how do you protect anything? How do you ensure that the person logging into your company's financial data from a Starbucks in Ohio is actually your CFO, and not a hacker from across the world? The answer is, you shift your entire security philosophy. The new perimeter, the new castle wall, is no longer a physical location. It's identity. It's the one constant in this chaotic, distributed world. The single most important question in modern security is this: who are you? And the critical follow-up question is, based on who you are, what are you allowed to see and do? This is the entire field of identity and access management, or IAM. It's the digital bouncer, the passport control, and the air traffic controller for the entire digital world, all rolled into one. And at the absolute center of this universe, the undisputed 800-pound gorilla, is Okta. Okta isn't just a company. It's the foundational layer of trust for thousands of the world's biggest and fastest-growing organizations. What does it actually do? In simple terms, Okta ensures that the right people have the right access to the right resources at the right time. It's the universal keycard for the cloud. When an employee starts their day, they don't log into 20 different applications. They log in once to Okta. This is called single sign-on, or SSO. It's the first piece of the magic. One password to rule them all. But Okta knows a single password isn't enough. So it adds layers of security. It asks for a second factor of verification, something you have like a code on your phone. This is multi-factor authentication, or MFA. It's the difference between a simple lock on your door and a deadbolt with a security chain. Okta can even get smarter. It can look at where you're logging in from, what device you're using, what time of day it is, and make an intelligent, risk-based decision about whether to grant you access. This is the brain of the modern security apparatus. So why does any of this matter for your career? Because of one simple economic principle: supply and demand. The demand for a secure, seamless, cloud-based work environment is an unstoppable tidal wave. Every company, from the Fortune 500 giant down to the 50-person startup, is wrestling with this exact problem. They are all migrating to the cloud, they are all managing a remote workforce, and they are all terrified of a data breach that could cost them millions or even put them out of business. Their solution? They buy Okta. Over 18,000 companies and counting rely on Okta as their central nervous system for identity. But here's the critical part. Buying the software is the easy step. Implementing it, integrating it with hundreds of other applications, managing its policies, and ensuring it runs flawlessly, that requires a specialist. It requires someone who speaks the language of identity. It requires an Okta-certified professional. And the supply of those professionals? It's tiny. It's a fraction of what the market needs. This isn't just a skills gap. It's a canyon. Companies are desperately searching for people who can tame this complexity and build that secure foundation for them. They are posting jobs on LinkedIn, on Indeed, on Dice, and they are willing to pay a massive premium for talent because the cost of not having an expert is a catastrophic security breach waiting to happen. When you hold an Okta Professional Certification, you are sending a clear, unambiguous signal to the market. You are saying, I understand the single most important problem in modern technology, and I am one of the few people who knows how to solve it using the industry-leading platform. You immediately differentiate yourself from the hundreds of other IT generalists applying for the same roles. You're not just a systems administrator anymore. You're an identity architect. You're not just a help desk technician. You are a security gatekeeper. Let's make this concrete. Imagine a mid-sized company, about 1,000 employees. They just decided to go all in on the cloud. They're adopting Salesforce for sales, Marketo for marketing, and moving all their internal servers to AWS. The CIO is having sleepless nights. How does she ensure that when a salesperson leaves the company, their access to every single one of these systems is revoked instantly? How does she give the new marketing hire access to Marketo and 5 other tools without a week-long ticket-filled nightmare for the IT team? How does she enforce a strict MFA policy for developers accessing their sensitive cloud infrastructure in AWS? The answer is an Okta implementation, and the person they need to hire to lead that project to connect all those dots is someone with your future certification. You become the hero of that story. You are the one who builds the secure, automated system that makes the entire company more agile and more secure. Or think about a massive enterprise with 50,000 employees. They have a tangled mess of legacy systems, a result of decades of mergers and acquisitions. They have 3 different ways for employees to log in, none of which talk to each other. It's a productivity killer and a security nightmare. Their big strategic initiative for the year is to create a single, unified identity for every employee. What tool do you think they choose? Okta. And who do they need on their team to design, build, and manage that system at scale? An Okta expert. This isn't a niche skill. This is a core competency for the modern digital enterprise. Being an Okta expert is like being an expert in electricity 100 years ago. It's the fundamental power source that makes everything else run. The demand is not just high. It's structural, it's growing, and it's not going away. Every new cloud application a company adopts, every new employee they hire, every new security threat that emerges, only increases the need for robust identity management. It increases the need for you. So, the first and arguably most important reason why this certification is a career booster is pure, unadulterated market demand. You are positioning yourself directly in the path of a massive wave of corporate spending and strategic importance. You are acquiring a skill that is not just valuable but essential. We've established that the demand is astronomical. But what does that actually mean for your job title? For your day-to-day responsibilities? And most importantly, what does it mean for your paycheck? How much can you really earn with this certification on your resume? The numbers might just shock you. Alright, let's talk numbers. Let's pull back the curtain and look at the raw data, because at the end of the day, a certification is an investment. It costs time, it costs effort, and it costs money. You need to know the return on that investment. So let's start with a baseline. According to data from sites like Glassdoor and PayScale, a generalist IT systems administrator in the United States, someone with a few years of experience, typically earns somewhere between $65,000 and $85,000 a year. It's a respectable living, no question. But it often comes with a ceiling. You become the person who handles server maintenance, user account lockouts, and software updates. It's essential work, but it's not always seen as a strategic, high-growth role. Now, let's introduce a single variable into that equation: the Okta Professional Certification. Suddenly, you're not just a systems administrator anymore. You're a systems administrator with specialized identity skills. Your LinkedIn profile now has a keyword that recruiters are actively, desperately searching for every single day. That title alone, with the Okta certification listed, pushes your earning potential. We see an immediate jump. The low end of the salary range for a role requiring these skills starts closer to $85,000 or $90,000. The high end pushes past $110,000. That's a potential $25,000 raise, just for proving you have a skill set that companies are terrified of not having. But here's the thing. Getting the Okta Professional Cert doesn't just make you a better paid systems administrator. It opens up entirely new career paths. It's a key that unlocks doors to different departments and completely new job titles. This is where the real financial transformation happens. The most common and immediate step up is to a role like an Identity and Access Management Analyst, or IAM Analyst. This is your entry point into the dedicated world of digital identity. You're no longer just a generalist, you are a specialist. Your day-to-day is now focused on configuring applications, managing user lifecycles, and troubleshooting single sign-on issues. For this role, with an Okta Professional Certification and a couple of years of IT experience under your belt, the national average salary in the US hovers right around $105,000. Let that sink in. We're not talking about a senior-level 10 years of experience role. We're talking about the entry point into the specialization. From there, the ladder goes up, and it goes up fast. After a year or two as an IAM analyst, you're ready for the next step, the Okta Administrator. This is the person with the keys to the kingdom. You're not just managing policies, you're designing and implementing them. You're integrating complex applications, building workflows, and taking a lead role in security projects. The Okta Certified Administrator credential often comes into play here, but the Professional Cert is the foundation you build it all on. What does that do to your paycheck? The average salary for an Okta administrator in the United States is around $125,000. In major tech hubs like Austin, Seattle, or the DC area, that number is closer to $140,000. And in places like Silicon Valley or New York City, it's not uncommon to see salaries pushing $150,000 or more for this role. We're talking about doubling your salary from that initial sysadmin job in just a few short years. But we're not even at the top yet. Once you've mastered the administrator role, you enter the architect and engineer tier. Titles like Senior IAM Engineer or Identity Architect. These are the strategic thinkers, the people who design the entire identity infrastructure for a multinational corporation. They decide how thousands of employees will securely access hundreds of applications. They're solving million-dollar problems. For these roles, an Okta certification isn't just a nice-to-have. It's practically a prerequisite. The salary? We're now talking a baseline of $160,000, with many positions easily clearing $180,000. And for a principal identity architect at a major tech or finance company, you are looking at compensation packages, including bonuses and stock, that break the $200,000 mark. And let's not forget the world of consulting. With an Okta certification, especially the higher level ones like the certified consultant, you can step outside the traditional employee role. You can become a hired gun, an expert that companies bring in for critical projects. As an independent Okta consultant, your hourly rate can range from $125 to over $200 per hour. You do the math on that. At $150 an hour, a standard 40-hour week is $6,000. That's over $300,000 a year. Now you might be thinking, these numbers sound inflated. Is this for real? I encourage you right now, pause this video if you want and go to LinkedIn or Indeed. Search for Okta Administrator or IM Engineer and look at the salary ranges they post. You will see these numbers or even higher staring right back at you. The demand is real, and the supply of qualified talent is still incredibly low. That's basic economics, and it's driving salaries through the roof. This isn't just about getting a small raise. It's about fundamentally changing your career trajectory and your financial future. It's the difference between a career that's slowly climbing a hill and one that's strapped to a rocket. Think about what a $50,000, $70,000, or even $100,000 increase in annual income means. It means paying off debt faster. It means a down payment on a house. It means providing a different level of security for your family. It means freedom. The reason the pay is so high is because the value you provide is immense. A company with a poorly managed identity system is a sitting duck for a data breach. A single breach can cost a company millions of dollars in fines, lost business, and reputational damage. An Okta certified professional is the person who prevents that disaster. You are the security guard at the digital front door for the entire organization. You're not a cost center. You are a profit protector. And companies are willing to pay a premium for that peace of mind. So when we ask, how much can you really earn? The answer isn't a single number. It's a spectrum of opportunity. It starts with a significant, immediate boost to your current salary and opens up a clear, defined path to a six-figure income that continues to grow well beyond that. The Okta Professional Certification is the first, most critical step on that path. It's the ticket that gets you into the game. It proves to employers that you speak the language of modern security and are ready to take on these high-stakes, high-reward roles. So the money is clearly there. The career path is laid out. But knowing the destination is one thing. Knowing the first step is another. What exactly is on the Okta Professional exam? What are the core domains you absolutely have to master to even have a shot at passing? We're about to break down the blueprint of the exam itself, so you know exactly what you're up against. The Okta Professional exam is built on a simple but powerful premise. It tests what a real Okta administrator does, day in and day out. This isn't about memorizing obscure facts or theoretical computer science. It's a practical, hands-on test designed to prove you can actually do the job. The exam is broken down into 5 core domains, each with a different weight. Think of these not as separate subjects to study, but as the 5 essential pillars of managing a modern identity platform. Getting a handle on these 5 areas is non-negotiable. Let's start with the first and most foundational domain, Core Identity and Access Management, or IAM concepts. This makes up about 15% of your score. Now you might think, I'm here to learn Okta, not theory. But that's like saying you want to be a chef but don't want to learn about what heat does to food. Understanding the why behind Okta is what separates a button pusher from a true identity professional. This domain covers the bedrock principles. You'll need to know the difference between identity provider and service provider, or IDP and SP. What is the fundamental flow of a SAML assertion? What's the purpose of OpenID Connect? And how does it differ from OAuth 2.0? You need to be able to explain what single sign-on or SSO actually is beyond just logging in once. You'll be tested on the concept of federation, the idea of creating a trust relationship between different organizations so users can access resources seamlessly. This section is all about the language of identity. If you can't speak the language, you can't possibly build the solutions. It's the vocabulary test before you're allowed to write the essay. Master this, and the rest of the Okta platform will just click. Once you have the theory down, we move to the second domain, which is the absolute heart of any Okta environment, the Okta Universal Directory. This is a big one, accounting for a solid 20% of the exam. The Universal Directory, or UD, is Okta's single source of truth for all your users. It's the central hub, the master list, the digital Rolodex for your entire organization. Forget juggling spreadsheets, Active Directory, and HR systems separately. The UD brings it all together. For the exam, you need to know this thing inside and out. You'll have to demonstrate how to create and manage individual users and, more importantly, how to manage groups. Can you create a group rule that automatically adds every new member of the sales team to the Salesforce Access group? You better be able to. The exam will test your understanding of user profiles and attributes. What's the difference between a base attribute and a custom attribute? How do you map attributes from an external source like Workday or Active Directory into the Okta user profile? This is critical because those attributes, like a user's department, job title, or location, are what you'll use later to build powerful, automated security policies. You'll need to understand the different user states: staged, pending, active, locked out, and what they all mean. The Universal Directory isn't just a list of names. It's a dynamic, intelligent engine for managing user identity, and the exam will make sure you understand just how powerful it is. Now, having a perfect, organized directory of users is great, but it's completely useless if those users can't access their applications. This brings us to the third, and arguably most important domain from a business perspective: application integration. This beast makes up 30% of the exam, the largest single chunk, and for good reason. This is what companies buy Okta for. This is the skill that gets you hired. This domain is all about connecting applications to Okta to enable single sign-on. You will need to be an absolute pro at this. The exam will test your ability to integrate apps using the two main standards, SAML and SWA, which stands for Secure Web Authentication. You'll be expected to know how to add an application from the Okta Integration Network. That's the catalog of over 7,000 pre-built app integrations, and how to configure it. This includes assigning the app to individual users and groups, and understanding the sign-on options. For a standard SAML app, can you find the metadata URL? Do you know where to input the assertion consumer service URL? These aren't just buzzwords. They are the digital handshakes that make secure SSO possible. You'll also need to know how to handle provisioning. When you add a new user in Okta, can you make it so an account is automatically created for them in Salesforce, Slack, and Office 365? That's provisioning, and it's a huge time saver for IT departments. Knowing how to configure this for different applications is a core competency. This domain is where the magic happens. It's where you transform a company's chaotic mess of passwords and logins into a streamlined, secure, and user-friendly experience. With your users in the directory and your apps connected, it's time to lock things down. The fourth domain is authentication and security policies, which accounts for 25% of your score. This is all about being the guardian of your organization's front door. It's where you define who can log in, from where, and what they need to prove to get in. At the center of this is multi-factor authentication, or MFA. You must understand the different types of factors Okta supports, from Okta Verify with push notifications to security keys like YubiKey to good old SMS. You'll be tested on how to configure and enforce these factors. But it's not just about turning MFA on for everyone. The real power, and what the exam focuses on, is the policy engine. You'll need to master Okta sign-on policies. Can you create a policy that says, if a user is on the corporate network, they can log in with just a password, but if they are anywhere else in the world, they must use MFA? Can you create a rule that blocks all access attempts from a specific country? Can you build a policy that forces users to re-authenticate every 4 hours if they're accessing a highly sensitive financial application? This is the kind of granular control that makes Okta so powerful. It's about moving beyond a one-size-fits-all security model to a context-aware, intelligent approach. You'll also be tested on password policies, setting complexity requirements, expiration rules, and lockout conditions. This domain is all about risk management. It's your job to make it easy for the right people to get in and impossible for the wrong people. Finally, we come to the fifth domain, troubleshooting. This is 10% of the exam, but in the real world, it's 100% of your credibility as an admin. When something breaks, everyone looks to you. This domain tests your ability to be a detective. The single most important tool you'll be tested on here is the Okta system log. You need to know how to navigate it, how to filter it, and most importantly, how to read it. The system log is the black box flight recorder for your entire Okta organization. Every login attempt, every policy evaluation, every user change, it's all there. The exam will present you with scenarios like, a user reports they can't log into an application. What steps would you take to diagnose the problem? The correct answer will always involve checking the system log. You'll need to be able to look at a log entry and understand what it means. Can you identify a failed login due to an invalid password versus a failure because of a misconfigured SAML assertion? Can you use the log to see which sign-on policy was applied to a user's login attempt? This section also covers basic user-level troubleshooting, like helping a user who has been locked out or needs to reset their MFA factors. It might be the smallest domain by percentage, but don't underestimate it. Your ability to quickly and accurately diagnose and solve problems is what will make you an indispensable member of your IT team. So there you have it. The 5 pillars of the Okta Professional Exam. Foundational IAM concepts, the Universal Directory as your user hub, application integration for SSO, security policies to guard the gates, and troubleshooting to solve the inevitable problems. It's a comprehensive journey that mirrors the real-world responsibilities of an Okta administrator. Each domain builds on the last, creating a complete picture of how to manage identity in the cloud. Knowing what's on the exam is half the battle. Now let's talk about how you can actually prepare for this and what resources are going to be your best friends on this journey. Alright, let's break down the ultimate battle plan. The first and most common mistake people make when preparing for any certification, especially one like Okta's, is treating it like a history exam. They think they can just memorize a bunch of facts, dates, and feature names and then just regurgitate them on test day. That is a one-way ticket to failure. This exam isn't about what you can remember. It's about what you can do. It's a test of practical skill, not academic recall. So, your preparation has to reflect that. Your entire strategy should revolve around one central hub, one non-negotiable tool, the free Okta Developer Org. If you do nothing else, I say do this. Go to developer.okta.com and sign up for a free, forever free developer instance. This is your personal sandbox, your laboratory, your dojo. Reading about how to configure an identity provider is one thing. Actually doing it, seeing the settings, clicking the buttons, troubleshooting the error message when you mess up the certificate, that's what builds real knowledge. It's the difference between reading a book about how to swim and actually jumping in the pool. The book is useful, but it will never teach you the feeling of the water or how to kick to stay afloat. Your Okta Developer Org is your swimming pool. Your first step in this journey isn't to read a book. It's to get your swimsuit on and get in the water. Once you have your org set up, your guiding light, your North Star, is the official Okta Professional Exam Study Guide. Do not, I repeat, do not start studying without having this document open in a browser tab at all times. This isn't just a suggestion. It's the official rulebook for the game you're about to play. Okta is literally telling you, here are the topics we are going to ask you about. They break it down by domain and list the specific tasks you need to be able to perform. So here's the method. You look at the first objective on the study guide. Let's say it's Configure Universal Directory Profile Sourcing. You don't just go read the documentation on it. No, you open your developer org and you do it. You create a couple of fake users. You integrate a dummy application. You configure the profile mapping from the application back to the Okta user profile. You make the application the source of truth. And watch what happens when you change a user's last name in the app. Does it update in Okta? Why or why not? You need to build that muscle memory. Go through every single point on that study guide and perform the action in your developer org. Every single one. Can you create and configure group rules? Don't just say yes. Do it. Create 3 different rules with different conditions and see how they interact. Can you configure delegated administration? Do it. Create a new admin role with limited permissions, log in as that admin, and see what they can and cannot do. Try to do something you know they're not allowed to do and see what the error message looks like. This hands-on, task-based approach is the absolute core of a successful study plan. Now, while you're in your developer org, you're going to need a reference guide and encyclopedia. That's where the official Okta documentation comes in. The documentation is not a novel. You do not read it from start to finish. That will drive you insane and you'll retain almost none of it. Instead, you use it surgically. When you're working on an objective from the study guide, like configuring a new SAML application, and you get stuck, then you go to the documentation. You search for that specific topic, find the article, get your answer, and immediately apply it back in your developer org. This creates a powerful learning loop. Attempt, fail, research, apply, succeed. That cycle is what cements information in your brain. Beyond the dev org and the docs, Okta themselves provide some incredible free resources. They have a whole catalog of on-demand courses, and the one you should absolutely start with is Okta Essentials. It's a fantastic high-level overview of the entire platform. It's the perfect way to build a foundational map of the Okta universe in your head before you start deep diving into the specific continents of Universal Directory or single sign-on. Watching this course first will give context to the tasks you're performing in your dev org. So, to recap the official toolkit, Exam Study Guide is your map. Your developer org is your training ground. The documentation is your encyclopedia. And the Okta Essentials course is your orientation. If you only use these 4 resources, you could absolutely pass this exam. But we're not just aiming to pass, are we? We're aiming to master this. We want to walk into that exam with confidence and walk out with a high score. So let's talk about force multipliers, the resources that can accelerate your learning. This is where third-party content comes in, but you have to be careful. The Okta platform evolves, so you need to ensure the content you're using is up to date. Look for highly rated Okta Professional courses on platforms like Udemy or a cloud guru. These are often created by instructors who have gone through the trenches and can offer a different perspective or a more structured learning path than just following the study guide. They often package the information in a very digestible way, which can be great for your daily commute or when you have a spare 30 minutes. The key benefit here is that a good instructor doesn't just show you how to do something. They explain why it's done that way and how it fits into the bigger picture. Another powerful resource is the community. The official Okta community forums are a goldmine. If you're stuck on a concept, I guarantee someone else has been stuck on that exact same thing before. You can search the forums and find detailed explanations and solutions from Okta employees and experienced practitioners. Don't be afraid to ask your own questions. Explaining your problem clearly is, in itself, a great way to learn. And finally, the secret weapon for acing any certification exam: practice tests. Taking practice exams is like a dress rehearsal for the main event. It does 2 critical things. First, it gets you familiar with the format and style of the questions. The Okta exam uses scenario-based questions, which can be tricky. They're not just, what does this button do? They're, a company has this problem. Which of these solutions is the best way to solve it using Okta? Practice exams train your brain to dissect these scenarios. Second, and this is the most important part, practice exams are a diagnostic tool. They are designed to ruthlessly expose your weaknesses. Every question you get wrong is a gift. It's a bright, flashing neon sign pointing directly at a gap in your knowledge. The biggest mistake people make with practice tests is just looking at their score. A score of 75% doesn't mean you're pretty good. It means there's 25% of the material you do not understand well enough. Here's how to use practice exams effectively. Take one early in your study process. Don't even worry about the score. After you're done, go through every single question, not just the ones you got wrong, but the ones you got right too. For each wrong answer, you need to understand why it was wrong and, more importantly, why the right answer is right. This sends you back to your developer org and the documentation with a specific mission. If you got a question about multi-factor authentication policies wrong, you go back and spend 3 hours just building, breaking, and fixing MFA policies until you know them inside and out. Okta offers an official practice exam, which is the best indicator of the real thing. I highly recommend taking it. There are also great third-party practice tests on platforms like WizLabs that give you a larger pool of questions to work with. Use them all. By the time you've gone through this process a few times, you'll have systematically found and filled all of your knowledge gaps. You'll have turned your weaknesses into strengths. So putting it all together, your path to success is clear. You start with the Okta Essentials course to get the lay of the land. Then you live inside your developer org, systematically working through every objective on the exam study guide, using the official documentation as your reference. You supplement this with a high-quality video course to get different perspectives. You use the community forums when you're truly stuck. And finally, you sharpen your skills and test your knowledge with the barrage of practice exams, treating every wrong answer as a study opportunity. This isn't just a collection of tips. It's a proven system. It's the system that will take you from being curious about Okta to being a certified Okta professional. Now that you have the how, let's get into the why and talk about the real tangible impact this certification has on your career and, more importantly, your salary. So let's talk numbers, because that's what really matters. When you invest your time, your energy, and your money into a certification, you want a return on that investment. And with the Okta Professional Certification, the return is not just good. It's spectacular. Let's cut right to the chase, the money. Across the board, looking at data from job boards, salary aggregators like Glassdoor and PayScale, and real-world job offers, a certified Okta professional can expect to earn, on average, between 15 to 25% more than their non-certified peers in similar roles. Let that sink in. We're not talking about a small 3% cost of living adjustment. We're talking about a significant, career-altering leap. Let's put that into concrete terms. If you're a system administrator or an IT support engineer earning, say, $80,000 a year, a 15 to 25% increase is an extra $12,000 to $20,000 per year. That's $1,000 to $1,600 more in your pocket every single month. That's a car payment. That's a massive boost to your savings. That's a life-changing amount of money. And that's just the average. For individuals transitioning into specialized roles like an identity engineer or a cloud security specialist, the jump can be even more dramatic. We regularly see salary increases in the 30 to 40% range when someone leverages this certification to pivot into a high-demand security role. Why? It's simple economics. Supply and demand. The demand for skilled identity professionals is exploding, but the supply of qualified, certified experts is still catching up. Companies are willing to pay a premium for someone who can walk in on day one and prove they have the validated skills to protect the company's most critical assets. The certification is your proof. It's your leverage in a salary negotiation. It's the line on your resume that separates you from the dozens of other applicants and puts you at the top of the pile. But it's not just about an immediate salary bump. It's about opening a completely new set of doors for your career. To illustrate this, let me tell you a story about someone we'll call Sarah. Sarah was a senior systems administrator at a mid-sized company. She was good at her job, respected by her colleagues, but she was stuck. She'd hit what I call the IT plateau. Her salary had stagnated, the work was becoming repetitive, and she saw the exciting, high-paying jobs in cloud and cybersecurity, but felt like they were on a different planet. The job descriptions were filled with terms like Zero Trust, IAM, and SSO, and they all seemed to require experience she didn't have. One day, while scrolling through job postings for a cloud security engineer role that paid $50,000 more than her current salary, she noticed a common thread. Nearly every single one listed experience with Okta as a required or preferred skill. A few even specifically mentioned Okta Certification a plus. A light bulb went off. This wasn't just a random piece of software, it was a key. It was a gateway to the career she wanted. So Sarah decided to invest in herself. She used the exact study path we laid out in the previous part. She started with the fundamentals, used the official Okta documentation, and spent her evenings and weekends in a study group, practicing in her free developer tenant. It was hard work, no doubt, but she was driven by the vision of that new career path. A few months later, she sat for the Okta Professional exam and passed. The change was almost immediate. She updated her LinkedIn profile, adding Okta Certified Professional right next to her name. And a funny thing happened. Her inbox, which had been quiet for years, started to buzz. Recruiters started reaching out to her. They weren't messaging her about another sysadmin job. They were contacting her about identity and access management roles, about security engineer positions. The certification acted as a giant, flashing billboard that said, "I have the skills you're desperately looking for." When she started applying for jobs, the experience was completely different. Before, her resume might get lost in the shuffle. Now she was getting calls back. In interviews, she could speak with confidence about implementing multi-factor authentication policies, configuring SSO for enterprise applications, and the principles of modern identity management. When the interviewer asked, "So you have experience with Okta?" she could say, "Yes, I'm an Okta certified professional." And she could feel the entire dynamic of the conversation shift. It wasn't just a claim, it was a verified fact. Long story short, Sarah landed a job as an identity engineer at a major tech company. Her starting salary was 35% higher than her old one. She went from feeling stuck and undervalued to being in a high-growth, high-demand field, working on exciting projects that were central to her new company's security strategy. The certification didn't just get her a raise. It completely rebooted her career trajectory. Sarah's story isn't unique. It's a pattern I've seen play out time and time again. The certification is a credibility catalyst. In the world of IT, trust is everything. An employer is trusting you with the keys to their kingdom, their data, their applications, their infrastructure. How can they trust that you know what you're doing? You can say you have experience with Okta, but that's subjective. What does it mean? Did you reset passwords once, or did you architect a full-scale deployment? The Okta Professional Certification removes that ambiguity. It's a standardized, globally recognized benchmark of your skills. It's Okta itself, the company that built the platform, vouching for you and saying, "Yes, this person has demonstrated the core competencies required to manage our product effectively and securely." That third-party validation is immensely powerful. It de-risks the hiring decision for the employer, making you a much more attractive candidate. This credibility extends beyond just getting a new job. It impacts your current role too. When you're certified, your voice carries more weight in technical discussions. When you propose a new security policy or a new way to integrate an application, your recommendations are backed by proven expertise. It empowers you to take on more responsibility, lead more complex projects, and become the go-to identity expert within your organization. This, in turn, leads to promotions and internal salary increases. The certification is a virtuous cycle. It proves your skills, which gives you more opportunities to use those skills, which leads to greater recognition and reward. It's about transforming from someone who simply uses technology to someone who is a trusted authority on it. And that is the foundation of a truly successful and future-proof career in technology. You are no longer just an IT generalist, you are an identity professional, and the industry is waiting to reward you for it. So what does that reward actually look like? Let's stop talking in abstractions and start talking in specifics. Let's talk about the hard numbers, the job titles, and the career trajectory that this certification unlocks. Because at the end of the day, professional development is about personal advancement. It's about creating a better life for yourself and your family. And the Okta Professional Certification is one of the most direct lines to that goal in the tech industry today. Let's start with the most immediate and tangible benefit: your salary. The moment that Okta Certified Professional badge appears on your LinkedIn profile, you've fundamentally changed your market value. We're not talking about a small, incremental cost of living adjustment. We're talking about a significant leap. According to industry data from sources like Glassdoor, PayScale, and real-time job postings, professionals with specialized identity skills, particularly with a respected certification like Okta's, can command a salary that is anywhere from 15 to 30% higher than their generalist IT counterparts. Think about that for a second. 15 to 30%. For someone earning $75,000 a year as a systems administrator, that's an increase of over $11,000 to more than $22,000 annually. That's not just more money. That's a mortgage payment. That's a college fund. That's the difference between financial stress and financial security. You're not just getting a raise for knowing a new tool. You're being compensated for possessing a critical, in-demand skill that directly protects and enables a business's most valuable assets: its data and its people. You've moved from being a cost center, part of the operational overhead of IT, to a value driver, a strategic asset in the company's security posture. And you get paid accordingly. But the story is so much bigger than just an initial salary bump. It's about the entire arc of your career. Let me tell you a story that I've seen play out, in one form or another, dozens of times. It's the story of someone we'll call Alex. Alex was a great IT admin, smart, hardworking, the person everyone went to when their laptop was slow or they couldn't connect to the VPN. He was good at his job, but he was stuck. He'd been in the same role for 3 years, watching other people in different departments get promotions and exciting new projects. He felt like he was on a treadmill, running hard just to stay in the same place. He was a jack of all trades, but he knew deep down he was a master of none. Then his company adopted Okta. At first, it was just another tool he had to learn, another system to manage. But something clicked for Alex. He saw how it connected everything: the cloud apps, the on-premise systems, the users. He saw the power of a centralized identity platform. Instead of just learning the bare minimum to get by, he decided to go all in. He studied for and passed the Okta Professional exam. And that's when everything changed. It wasn't overnight, but it was decisive. The first thing that happened was a shift in perception. He was no longer just Alex from IT. He became Alex, the Okta guy. When a critical new application needed to be integrated for the sales team before a huge conference, it wasn't a multi-week project involving a dozen different people. It was a conversation with Alex. He used his knowledge of Okta application network templates and SAML configurations to get it done in a single afternoon. Management noticed. A few months later, the company was undergoing a security audit. The auditors were grilling the CIO about multi-factor authentication policies and user lifecycle management. Who was in the room, right next to the CIO, confidently explaining their MFA enrollment policies and demonstrating the automated deprovisioning workflows for former employees? Alex. He wasn't just fixing printers anymore. He was speaking the language of the business, the language of risk, compliance, and security. Within 6 months of getting certified, Alex was promoted to a newly created role: Identity and Access Management Engineer. It came with a 25% pay raise and a seat at the table for every major technology decision the company made. He wasn't on the treadmill anymore. He was on a rocket ship. He had stopped being a generalist and had become a specialist and authority. The certification wasn't just a piece of paper. It was the catalyst that unlocked his potential and made his value visible to the entire organization. This story isn't an exception. It's the blueprint. The certification acts as an internal signal to your current employer that you are ambitious, you are skilled, and you are ready for more responsibility. It gives your manager the ammunition they need to go to bat for you, to argue for your promotion, to create a new higher-level role just for you. But what if your current company doesn't see that value? What if there is no room for upward mobility? Well, that's where the Okta certification becomes your shield and your sword in the open job market. Go to any major job board right now, LinkedIn, Indeed, Dice, and search for Okta. You won't see a handful of listings. You'll see thousands. And look at the titles: Identity Engineer, Cloud Security Analyst, IAM Architect, Senior Security Consultant. These aren't entry-level dead-end jobs. These are high-impact, high-paying roles at the heart of modern IT and cybersecurity departments. The certification on your resume does something magical. It bypasses the first level of HR screening. Recruiters use keywords to filter through hundreds of applications, and Okta Certified is a golden keyword. It immediately tells them that you have a validated baseline level of expertise. You're not just someone who worked with Okta a little bit at my last job. You are someone who has formally demonstrated their proficiency. It separates you from the crowd before the race has even begun. Companies are desperate for this talent. They are migrating to the cloud, they are adopting zero-trust security models, and they are drowning in a sea of applications and user identities. They have a massive, expensive, and dangerous problem. They need experts to solve it. And they are willing to pay a premium for professionals who can walk in the door on day one and start adding value. The certification is your proof that you are that professional. It de-risks the hiring decision for them. It's a trusted third-party validation of your skills, which is infinitely more powerful than a bullet point on your resume. This is why the demand is so relentless. It's not a fad. It's a fundamental shift in how technology and business operate. Identity is the new perimeter. Securing that perimeter is no longer a niche IT task. It is a core business function, as critical as finance or sales. And for the past decade, Okta has positioned itself as the undisputed leader in that space. By getting certified, you are aligning your personal brand with the industry leader. You are hitching your career wagon to a star. The opportunities this creates are not just about getting one new job. It's about building a career path that can last for the next 10-20 years. A path with multiple branches. You could move into security architecture, consulting, management, or even sales engineering. The foundation of identity expertise opens doors you can't even see yet. It's the ultimate career booster because it doesn't just get you the next job. It gets you the next 10 jobs after that. The question is no longer if the opportunity is there, but how you're going to seize it. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How, exactly, do you prepare for a certification that can fundamentally alter the trajectory of your career? It's one thing to hear about the massive salary bumps and the incredible opportunities. It's another thing entirely to be sitting there, looking at the exam blueprint, feeling that familiar mix of excitement and, let's be honest, a little bit of dread. Where do you even begin? Most people think the answer is to just dive into study guides, cram flashcards, and hope for the best. That's the path to burnout, not certification. The real path, the one that leads to genuine expertise and a passing score, isn't about memorization. It's about transformation. It's about changing the way you think about identity and security. The first and most critical step is a mindset shift. You are not studying to pass a test. Let me repeat that because it's the most important thing you'll hear. You are not studying to pass a test. You are training to become an Okta professional. The exam is just a checkpoint, a validation of the skills you're building. If you focus on the test, you'll learn to recognize patterns and questions. If you focus on the skills, you'll learn to solve real-world problems. Which one do you think is more valuable to an employer? Which one will actually make you better at your job? This isn't about rote learning the names of every API endpoint. It's about understanding why those endpoints exist. It's about grasping the fundamental principles of modern identity, the flows, the protocols, the security implications. When you see a question on the exam, your reaction shouldn't be, "I remember this from page 73. It should be, "I know exactly how this works because I've built it. I've broken it. and I've fixed it. This brings us to the second non-negotiable step. Get your hands dirty. Theory will only take you so far. Reading about how OAuth 2.0 works is like reading a book about how to swim. You can understand the hydrodynamics, the different strokes, the breathing techniques, but you're not a swimmer until you get in the water. Okta knows this, which is why they give you the single most powerful study tool imaginable for free. The Okta Developer Free Tier. This is not a limited demo. This is your personal identity lab, your digital sandbox, your playground. You can spin up a full-featured Okta org and do almost anything a massive enterprise can. You can configure applications, build custom sign-in flows, set up multi-factor authentication policies, play with API access management, everything. Not using this is like trying to become a master chef by only reading cookbooks. It's impossible. Think about it this way. Let's say you're learning about Okta's Universal Directory. You can read that it's a flexible, cloud-based user store. Or you can log into your free tenant, create a dozen fake users, add custom attributes to their profiles like favorite Star Wars movie or t-shirt size, and then build a group rule that automatically puts everyone who likes The Empire Strikes Back into a group called Tasteful Nerds. Which one do you think you'll remember? When you do it yourself, when you see the cause and effect, the knowledge moves from your short-term memory into your muscle memory. It becomes a part of you. So your first assignment isn't to read a book. It's to sign up for the free developer account and just play. Break things. See what happens when you set a password policy so strict that no one can log in. See what happens when you try to integrate a weird, old application. The goal here is curiosity, not perfection. Now, once you're in your digital sandbox, where do you get the blueprints for what to build? This is where official documentation becomes your best friend. I know. Nobody gets excited about reading documentation. But Okta's documentation is different. It's a treasure map. The exam blueprints tell you what you need to know, and the documentation, the white papers, and the official Okta training courses tell you how it all works. Your study process should be a constant dance between theory and practice. Read a section in the docs about identity provider routing. Then, immediately jump into your tenant and build it. Set up a rule that says, if a user's email ends in mycompany.com, send them to our internal Okta login. If it ends in gmail.com, send them to the Google sign-in page. When you see it work with your own eyes, that concept is locked in forever. This is where so many people go wrong. They treat the practical and theoretical as two separate phases. They'll read for 3 weeks, then they'll try to do labs for 1 week. That's backwards. It needs to be a tight, iterative loop. Read a little, do a little. Watch a video, build the thing. This approach leverages a powerful learning concept called active recall. Instead of passively absorbing information, you are actively forcing your brain to retrieve it and apply it in a practical context. It's the difference between watching a workout video and actually lifting the weights. One makes you aware of fitness, the other actually builds muscle. Your hands-on keyboard time in your Okta tenant is you lifting the weights. And as you're building these mental muscles, you need to learn how to explain what you're doing. This is the Feynman technique, and it's pure gold for certification prep. The idea is simple. Take a complex topic, like the difference between the OIDC implicit and authorization code flows, and explain it out loud in the simplest terms possible, as if you were teaching it to a 10-year-old. Use analogies. Okay, so imagine you're giving a valet the key to your car. You don't give them your house key, your office key, and your safe deposit box key. You give them a special valet key that only lets them park the car. That's kind of what an access token is. The moment you struggle to explain it simply is the moment you found a gap in your own understanding. Go back to the docs, go back to your tenant, and solidify that concept until you can explain it to anyone. This practice is doubly effective because it's exactly what you'll need to do in a job interview. No one is going to ask you to recite a definition. They're going to give you a scenario and ask you how you'd solve it. Finally, you cannot do this alone. The journey to certification is not a solo mission. It's a team sport. Immerse yourself in the Okta community. There are official Okta forums, unofficial Discord channels, LinkedIn groups, and dedicated subreddits filled with people who are on the exact same path as you. Ask questions. No question is dumb. If you're confused about something, I guarantee 100 other people are too. But more importantly, try to answer questions. When you see someone struggling with a concept that you've finally mastered, jump in and help them. The act of teaching reinforces your own knowledge at a deeper level than almost anything else. You'll find study partners, you'll find mentors, and you'll build a professional network before you even have the certification. These are the people who will share job postings, offer advice, and celebrate with you when you finally see that pass on your screen. They are your support system and your secret weapon. So let's recap the battle plan. It's not about cramming. It's about a fundamental shift in your approach. First, you adopt the mindset of a professional in training, not a test taker. Second, you live in your free Okta developer tenant, making it your personal lab. You get your hands on the keyboard every single day. Third, you use the official documentation and exam blueprint as your guide, constantly cycling between reading and doing. Fourth, you practice explaining complex topics in simple terms, identifying and filling your own knowledge gaps. And fifth, you embed yourself in the community, both learning from others and reinforcing your knowledge by teaching them. This 5-part strategy is the roadmap. It's not the easiest path, but it is the one that guarantees you don't just pass an exam. It guarantees you acquire a skill set that is deeply valuable, highly in demand, and will serve as the foundation for the rest of your career. This is how you build the confidence to not just answer multiple choice questions, but to walk into any company, solve their identity challenges, and prove your worth from day one. Now let's translate that confidence into currency. Let's talk about the moment of truth, the job interview. Imagine 2 candidates walking in for the same identity and access management role. Both have similar years of experience in general IT. Both seem sharp, but one has the Okta Professional Certification listed on their resume, and the other doesn't. The hiring manager, who is buried in projects and needs someone to solve problems, not create them, sees that certification and a switch flips in their brain. It's a signal. It's a filter. It says, this person has already invested in themselves. They've already passed a standardized, industry-recognized benchmark of competence. But it goes so much deeper than that. The interview begins. The manager leans forward and says, okay, talk to me about a time you had to integrate a non-standard application for single sign-on. The uncertified candidate might stumble. They might talk theoretically. Well, I would probably look at the documentation. I'd see if it supports SAML or OIE. I'd have to research the attribute mapping. It's a weak, uncertain answer. It creates more work for the interviewer. Now it's your turn. You, the Okta certified professional. You lean forward too, and you don't just give an answer, you tell a story. You say, that's a great question. In my certification labs, we had a scenario just like this with a tricky custom SAML application. The first thing I did was confirm the assertion consumer service URL and the audience URI. A common mistake is a mismatch there. Then I had to create custom attribute statements because the app required the user's department to be passed in a specific format, which wasn't a default attribute in Okta. I used the Okta expression language to transform the user's profile attribute on the fly. We got it working in under an hour, fully tested and ready for provisioning. Do you see the difference? It's night and day. One answer is a guess. Your answer is an experience. You didn't just say what you would do. You described what you have done. You used the exact terminology. You identified common pitfalls before the interviewer even had to ask. You demonstrated a level of practical, hands-on knowledge that can only come from dedicated study and practice, the very things the certification process forces you to do. You're not just a candidate anymore. You're a potential colleague, a problem solver. Let's try another one. The CISO of the company joins the interview. Her big concern is security. She asks, our company is moving to a zero-trust model. How would you leverage Okta to enforce stronger security for our remote developers who need access to critical infrastructure? The uncertified candidate might say, multi-factor authentication is important. We should make them use MFA. It's not wrong, but it's an answer. It's generic. It shows a surface-level understanding. You, on the other hand, are ready. You say, absolutely. In a zero-trust framework, identity is the new perimeter. My first step would be to move beyond basic MFA. I'd implement phishing-resistant authenticators like FIDO2 WebAuthn for all developers. Next, I'd create a specific global session policy and an authentication policy just for them. I'd set the session lifetime to be much shorter, say for hours, requiring re-authentication for continued access. Then I'd use device context. Is the developer logging in from a company-managed trusted device? If not, the policy could deny access or step up authentication. We could even layer in behavior detection to look for impossible travel scenarios. This way, we're not just checking a box for MFA. We're building a dynamic, context-aware security policy that verifies every access request, every time, without adding unnecessary friction to the developer's workflow. Boom! You just designed a security strategy on the spot. You showcased your knowledge of policies, authenticators, device trust, and the core philosophy of zero trust. You spoke the language of the CISO. You didn't just answer the question, you solved her problem. That is the power the certification gives you. It gives you the vocabulary and the mental models to think like an identity expert. Now let's fast forward. You got the job. Of course you did. The first 90 days are critical for any new hire. This is where the difference between certified and non-certified becomes a chasm. The non-certified new hire spends their first month just trying to learn the landscape. They're reading old documentation, they're shadowing senior engineers, they're asking basic questions like, where do I find the application settings? Or, how do I reset a user's MFA? They are, to be blunt, a drain on the team's resources. Their productivity is negative. You walk in on day one with your Okta Professional Certification. You already know the dashboard like the back of your hand. You know what a policy is, you know what a rule is, you know the difference between SP-initiated and IDP-initiated SSO. On your third day, a ticket comes in. The marketing team just purchased a new analytics tool, and they need it integrated for their team of 50 people. Your manager thinks this will be a good starter project that might take you a week or two. You look at the ticket, see the application name, and immediately search for it in the Okta Integration Network. You find the pre-built SAML connector. You follow the verified setup guide. You configure the provisioning settings to automatically create accounts for anyone in the marketing group. You map the necessary attributes. You test it with a pilot user. The whole thing takes you 45 minutes. You close the ticket and say, what's next? Your manager's jaw is on the floor. You didn't just complete a task. You demonstrated speed, competence, and self-sufficiency. You generated value in your first week. While the other guy is still figuring out how to log in, you are already automating processes and making life easier for your colleagues. This is how you build a reputation. This is how you become the go-to person on the team. This isn't just about closing tickets faster. It's about fundamentally changing the business. Let's talk about user lifecycle management. A company with thousands of employees has a constant flow of people joining, moving between departments and leaving. In a legacy environment, this is a nightmare. A new hire starts and IT spends half a day manually creating their accounts in 15 different systems. An employee leaves and there's a frantic scramble to find and disable all their accounts, praying you don't miss one, because a single orphaned account is a massive security hole. You, the Okta expert, see this chaos and you see an opportunity. You implement lifecycle management policies. You integrate Okta with the HR system like Workday or Bamboo HR as the source of truth. Now the process is transformed. The moment HR creates a profile for a new hire, Okta automatically detects it, creates their account, and based on their department and role, provisions them with access to Salesforce, Slack, Office 365, and everything else they need. They have everything on day one, minute one. No waiting. No tickets. And the reverse is even more critical. The moment HR marks an employee as terminated, the magic happens. Okta immediately suspends their primary account, which cascades. Their sessions are terminated. Their access to every single connected application is deprovisioned in real time. That gaping security hole is sealed shut, automatically within seconds. Do you understand the value of that? You haven't just made IT's life easier. You have drastically improved the company's security posture. You have eliminated a whole class of human error. You've given back hundreds, maybe thousands of hours of productivity to the IT department and to new hires. When it's time for your performance review, you don't just say, I did my job. You say, I architected and implemented an automated joiner-mover-leaver process that reduced new hire onboarding time by 90% and eliminated the security risk of standing accounts, saving the company an estimated 500 man-hours per year. You are speaking the language of business value. You are connecting your technical skills directly to dollars saved and risks mitigated. The Okta Professional Certification is the key that unlocks your ability to have that conversation, because it gives you the foundational skills to actually implement those world-class solutions. It's the catalyst that turns you from a cost center into a strategic asset for the company. And when you become that strategic asset, the entire dynamic of your career changes. You're no longer just the person who resets passwords or provisions access. You're the person in the room when they're discussing a new merger and how to securely integrate thousands of new employees overnight. You're the one they call when they're planning a new customer-facing application and need to design a seamless, secure, and scalable login experience. You're not just fixing problems, you're architecting solutions. You're not just closing tickets, You're closing security gaps and opening up business opportunities. This is the fundamental shift that the Okta Professional Certification facilitates. It's the official stamp that says, I understand the modern language of identity. I can build, manage, and secure the digital front door to our entire organization. I know what some of you might be thinking. This sounds great, but is it really for me? I'm not a developer. I'm not a security guru. The idea of a certification exam is intimidating. Let's tackle that head-on. The beauty of the Okta Professional Certification is that it's designed as a foundational entry point. It doesn't assume you're a command line wizard or that you've been working in identity management for a decade. It assumes you're a motivated IT professional who understands the basics of how technology works in a business environment. It's built to take you from where you are to where you need to be. The exam isn't there to trick you. It's there to validate that you have absorbed the core competencies required to be an effective Okta administrator. It's a confirmation of your new skills, not a barrier designed to keep you out. And let's talk about the fear of the unknown. The path to certification isn't a dark, unmarked trail you have to navigate alone. Okta has invested heavily in creating a clear, well-lit pathway for you. There are free study guides that literally break down every single objective on the exam. There are premier Learning Pass subscriptions with hands-on labs that let you build and break things in a safe sandbox environment. The single best way to learn. There are instructor-led courses, both virtual and in-person, where you can ask questions and learn from experts. There is a massive community of Okta-certified professionals online, sharing their own study tips, their own aha moments, and their own success stories. You are not the first person to walk this path, and you won't be the last. You're joining a community, a network of peers who have all recognized the same opportunity that you're seeing right now. The investment isn't just about money, it's about time. And I get it. Your time is your most valuable resource. But I want you to reframe this. It's not about spending time, it's about investing time. You could spend the next 6 months doing exactly what you're doing now, fighting the same fires, dealing with the same frustrations, and maybe getting a standard cost of living raise. Or you could invest a few hours each week over that same period, time you might otherwise spend scrolling or watching reruns, and emerge on the other side with a credential that fundamentally alters your career trajectory. An investment that could lead to a promotion, a new job with a 20, 30, or even 40% salary increase. An investment that gives you skills that are not just in demand today, but will be even more critical tomorrow. When you look at it that way, the return on investment isn't just good, it's life-changing. Think about the world we live in. The old model of security was a castle and a moat. You built a strong wall, the corporate firewall, around your resources, and if you were inside the wall, you were trusted. That model is dead. It's completely shattered. Your applications are in the cloud. Your data is everywhere. Your users are working from their homes, from coffee shops, from halfway across the world. The new perimeter, the new castle wall, is no longer a physical location. The new perimeter is identity. Who you are is what grants you access, not where you are. And the platform that sits at the very heart of this new reality is identity management. This is the core of the zero-trust security model that every forward-thinking company is racing to adopt. And Okta is the undisputed leader in that space. By getting certified, you're not just learning a product. You are learning the philosophy and the practical application of modern security and modern IT. You're future-proofing your career against the most significant technological shifts of our time. While others are still trying to patch up the old castle walls, you'll be the architect of the new, identity-defined perimeter. You'll be the one who understands how to use things like adaptive multi-factor authentication, single sign-on, and automated lifecycle management to make the company both more secure and more productive. That's a powerful combination. It's the difference between being a mechanic who can change the oil and being an engineer who can design the whole engine. So what is the first step? It's not as daunting as you think. Your journey doesn't begin by scheduling the exam. It begins with a single click. Go to the Okta Certification website. Find the page for the Okta Certified Professional Exam. And download the study guide. That's it. That's your first commitment. It's a free PDF. Read through it. See the topics that are covered. Things like federating applications, configuring single sign-on policies, managing users and groups. You'll probably find that you're already familiar with some of these concepts. The guide will simply give you the structure and the specific Okta context you need. From there, you can explore the free learning resources, watch some of the webinars, sign up for a free Okta developer account, so you can get your hands on the product without any cost or commitment. Start small. Dedicate 30 minutes a day, or 2 hours every Saturday. Build momentum, one concept at a time, one lab at a time. You'll be amazed at how quickly the pieces start to connect. That feeling of "I can't do this" will slowly be replaced by "wait, I think I understand this," which will eventually become "I know I can do this." This certification is your declaration. It's a signal to your current employer, to future employers, and most importantly to yourself, that you are serious about your craft. It shows that you have the discipline to set a goal and achieve it. It proves you have the technical aptitude to master a world-class platform. It demonstrates that you have the foresight to invest in skills that are at the absolute cutting edge of technology. In a stack of 100 resumes, the one with that Okta Certified Professional badge on it immediately rises to the top. It's an instant differentiator. It tells a hiring manager that you speak the language, you know the platform, and you can start delivering value from day one. This is your chance to draw a line in the sand. On one side is your career as it is today. On the other side is your career as it could be. More rewarding, more impactful, and more lucrative. The Okta Professional Certification is the bridge between those two realities. It's the most direct path you can take to level up your skills, boost your income, and become an indispensable part of any modern IT organization. It's not just about getting a better job. It's about building a better career. It's about gaining the confidence that comes from true expertise. It's about taking control and actively designing your professional future, instead of just letting it happen to you. The opportunity is right in front of you. The demand is undeniable. The resources are available. The only question left is, what are you going to do about it? Don't let another 6 months or another year go by, only to look back and wish you had started today. The time will pass anyway. You might as well pass it becoming a certified expert in one of the most valuable technologies on the planet. This isn't just another IT certification. It's a career booster. It's a statement about your ambition and your ability. It's your next chapter. And it starts right now.